Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be reviewing The New Mutants. This is based on a comic book, John, so I know all about it. Actually, I read the Wikipedia, so I'm basically an expert. I'll drop all that knowledge on you later. But first up, joining me tonight from Maryland, the shores of Maryland, please welcome John Schnars to the show.
Oh, what shores they are, Eric.
Is that why you grew your hair out like that? Because you just got near the ocean and just became total surf bro?
We're not that close to the ocean. We are close to the Chesapeake Bay, which, it's a big bay. But
Is that part of the ocean, technically?
I don't know. It's brackish. You know what that means?
I do know what that means. That means a mix of salt water and fresh water.
It's like a scientist on the show tonight? Oh, my gosh.
I am a scientist like the people who wrote X-Men and decided these were quote-unquote mutations are a scientist.
I can't wait for your mutant rant because this is the X-Men has been happening.
It's completely stupid and pointless, but it's a thing I like to talk about. Anyway, next up on the show from Hot Atlanta, Georgia, please welcome Cece.
What's up?
Cece, you getting the cicadas down there? How's the hot cicada action going?
It's supposed to be a crazy year for them this year, right?
Or has it not started yet?
Oh, you muted yourself.
Did you just mute?
Motherfucker. We have not gotten them intensely yet, or at least not in the city. I know that they're on their way, but they're not here yet. I'm a little disappointed.
Please keep us updated.
I'll make sure that I get a really good recording of the ambiance when it happens.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next up on the show from Chicago, Joe, we didn't really have cicadas when we grew up. I didn't even know this was a thing until I was an adult. Basically until I met Cece. I didn't know what a cicada was.
I didn't really know the sound until we used to go on vacation Pennsylvania and stuff. We used to hear them there and definitely down south, but never where we grew up. We mostly had ticks and racism. That was,
I mean, you unfortunately have that down here as well.
Yeah, I was going to say the cicadas
cicadas.
probably have better voter rights than other people.
Not in Georgia. Have you not heard the shit?
You know what,
going on
though?
down
It
here?
evens out because we get Lyme disease, which not everybody gets, so that's fun. Last up tonight, joining us, I don't know what they have out there. Corn, I think, maybe, from Indiana. Please welcome Casey.
Racism
Corn
too,
and
I think.
cicadas.
You get cicadas too? Very nice. Anybody get
Yeah.
locusts? What kind of plagues are we talking about tonight?
Obesity.
Oh, good Lord.
I thought you said bestiality, and I was like,
Oh, there's
What?
probably
Where's
a
this
good amount of
going?
that.
There's probably some, yeah.
Oh, my Lord.
Cool. We're here tonight to talk about
cool.
The New Mutants. John, this is a superhero / spooky young adult kind of movie from Fox / Disney. That's the so that's the most interesting thing I learned, John, reading the Wikipedia. They finished production on New Mutants. They had this whole vision for it. They were about to release the trailer, but while they were cutting it, it came out and blew open the doors in the box office. And somebody at Fox went, let's make a spooky trailer for the New Mutants, because it was originally designed just fully to be more of a young adult kind of thing.
Yeah, it was
little bit spooky.
It's an X-Men thing. Yeah.
So they released that trailer that caused all the horror community hype for it. They had planned to do reshoots to basically bolster that in the script. In the middle of that planning, Disney bought Fox and put a hold on everything. And basically then, that first trailer came out in 2017. This movie just came out last year.
Yeah.
So the thing, while that deal was in limbo, that thing just sat. By the time they got back to it and were like, oh, maybe we could do reshoots, the director was like, the actors were too old. You couldn't go back and do reshoots in this young adult movie with these actors now. So basically they then just went back to the original vision of what it was. And he claims this is what the original thing was going to be, just not what Fox was trying to sell.
That explains a lot.
It actually explains a crap ton. Yeah, it's super interesting.
We might not have covered it if they had not released that horror version of the trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But I think that this is actually pretty in line with many other movies that we've done in a similar kind of young horror category, I feel like.
No, it's
You were like one Eric being able to think of his staff pick away from not having to do this thing.
No, it was fully like
That's also possibly
I was
true.
busy and was like, what about New Mutants? That's out, so let's do that. That's fine.
If we had caught Eric on like one of his rare clear-headed days, I think we would have. I know I would have had a better week.
Guys, I have a plan. Yeah, I got you, Joe. Speaking of,
I think that's. Go ahead.
go ahead, Cece.
No, I was just saying. I feel like that's what we get for trying to plan it on text message instead of
Yeah,
in a verbal
On like
conversation.
Sunday night, you mean?
On a Sunday night, yeah.
Dude, I've been traveling. Sunday's not a great night for me in general. But speaking of not having a clear head, Joe, please tell us what we are drinking tonight.
Beer guts.
Oof. Where do you go with this, right? There's a lot of things in this movie you could probably latch on to and pick a delicious beer, but I picked probably my favorite part of this whole movie. And we'll get to it. I'm not going to explain too much. But it's a beer from the fine folks at Tighthead Brewing. That's out here in Illinois. They're in Mundelein, which I challenge anyone who doesn't know that town to read the name and actually be able to pronounce it correctly.
I was going to accuse you of making that up, but
No, 100% accurate. But I only know it from living here. And the beer I picked from Tighthead Brewing is their Bear's Choice, which is a delicious IPA I have had on a number of occasions, including visiting the brewery. It's interesting because it's kind of a straightforward IPA, although the alcohol content is pretty high on this, about 6.3%, which is up there for something that you don't usually, consider like a double or, like this is just kind of one of their standard beers. The interesting thing about this, though, is they use like a handful of different types of malts. So you get that, sort of pineapple-y, citrusy, hop flavor, but there's a lot of different like malt going on here. So that like backbone that I talk a lot about, John, there's definitely like a good balance between the hops and the malt. So it's very good. I mean, it's still an IPA, right? It's still like a ton of hops in your face and very hop forward, as the kids like to say. So very good. One of my favorites. And Tighthead puts out really good beers, so definitely check them out if you can get in the area. They don't distribute super far, but take a road trip. What else you got to do with your life? Tightheadbrewing.com is their website. And like I say, the brewery isn't too far from my house, so I've had the chance to go there a few times. They got like a great tap room, and you can just kind of hang out, enjoy yourself. Kid friendly if you want to play some board games with the youngsters.
Joe, you fully vaxxed up yet? You getting ready to get back out there? Hot girl summer.
Last Friday, I actually got my second Moderna shot and proceeded to have one of the worst weekends of my life.
Oof.
But yeah, I'm there.
I got my first one. I was the last one.
Which one did you get? Oh, you got Pfizer, right?
Got the Pfizer, yeah. Got that.
I was
Pfizer.
surprised Eric was ready for the show because I was fully expecting him to basically take
a
a week
little
off.
junky, a little junky yesterday, a little weird today. My arm hurts, but I'm fine. I've heard the second one's the one that really takes you down for the count. So.
The second one took me out for a day, which is rare.
Did you get Pfizer, Casey, or what did you get?
Good luck,
I had
Casey.
Pfizer.
Because I've heard that, and Leslie had it too, and like just slept a lot, like super tired, but like not a ton of side effects. I literally was reading this as I was going through like the thralls of a fever and God knows what else. Like Moderna, apparently they've reported the side effects are a lot like more flu-like. So
interesting.
like Saturday, fever, chills, like body aches, like super tired, but I couldn't sleep because of the body aches. Like
I'll be honest, I expected
I
expected even the administering of it to hurt more because flu shots I feel like usually hurt like a bitch. But I was way bracing for way more than it was, and I was like, oh, that was fine.
The second one hurt a lot more. Like I feel like the dose, like whatever it was a different type of needle or whatever. But it definitely, the first one didn't bother me. The second one was like a punch in the arm, and like I'm still kind of sore from it.
Cece, you're getting your second one tomorrow.
I never had the pain.
Cece, you're getting your second one tomorrow.
Yeah, we get our second one tomorrow at lunch. So
Godspeed.
Hopefully. I didn't have any side effects the first time around, so let's hope the second time.
I think the important message here for the masses, John, BGH, pro-vax.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair.
Oh no, I'm anti now. I would say don't do it. Like, it's just, like,
what was your joke? What was your joke, Joe, to the nurse that didn't go over?
Oh, I said like, so can I take off my mask now? It was just like, deadpan nothing. I'm just like,
Here's the problem, Joe. I've known you for literal decades, and I still, to this day, have trouble telling when you're joking. So I cannot imagine what just your average person walking around thinks of you.
Well, I then realized, like, I got my shot at a Walgreens about 40 minutes from our house, which, like, literally when Trump won the election, they went there because it was the closest place that was like super Trumpy. So after I got my first shot, you had to like hang out for 10 minutes to make sure that you didn't have any side effects. And literally, I saw 2 people walking around that Walgreens with no masks. So like after I made the joke, I realized like this poor person has probably had to deal with these fuck faces like every day.
Right.
So,
It's not. It's real to them, Joe.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I had to hang out at
sure
CVS, which is how I'm now the proud owner of a CVS card. Because that's a thing adults do, I'm told. Getting deals.
Yeah,
CVS
you
is
gotta
all
sign up for the
smell
program.
the same, right? Like it's weird. Like CVS always has, like, because they're carpeted, they always have that CVS smell, and I don't know how to describe it, but it's
Yeah, it's true.
It's
You know
an
what? You
aroma
know what it is,
about it.
John?
All
I'm
Walgreens.
petrified of like saying yes to one of those cards and then sitting there and having to fill a thing out while everyone waits in line behind me.
But now
Yeah.
it's just like phone.
This
number
was brilliant though.
filling.
She
Yeah.
flipped the screen around, was like, fill it out, and then she opened up the register next to that, and then I didn't have to hold anybody up. I was like, oh, thank God.
They're pros, dude.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
They're pros.
Very important
No, they're
Vax talk here on BGH. There you go.
if they were pros, they'd be working at Dwayne Reed or Walgreens, all right? They're-
That also means they get to use twice the receipt paper.
I mean, Joe, Walgreens and CVS, it's
Which
the
is
same
not
exact.
recyclable.
It's the same exact thing, Joe. Walgreens.
no, CVS is definitely like where pharmacies go to die. Like
Yeah,
they're
okay, I don't know.
depressing.
Agree, disagree. I find them both equal amounts of depressing. Was that it for the beer, Joe? I'm sorry I interrupted there with the.
I think
Vax talk.
so. Yeah, I think I'm done.
Awesome.
Tightheadbrewing.com is their website. I think I missed that.
Love it. Get your shots, people. Wear your masks. Okay, it is time. Let's take a quick break and review the New Mutants.
This is it, Senator. Your big break in TV. From the prime time. Main feature.
Mr. John Schnars,
Eric.
don't you think Maisie Williams should have been able to do a better Scottish accent considering she's British? I mean,
There
like,
is not
listen,
a
I don't want to like, I don't want to
in
like,
this movie.
I don't want to draw ire here from people. Like, I understand that Scotland and England are different things, but
Right.
they're so close. Like, it's from like where I'm sitting right now to Rhode
Basically.
Island, basically.
Yes.
Like,
Can you do a Rhode Island accent? Go ahead. Let's hear
no,
it.
but it's very similar.
I just want to say that most British people or most British actors, let me back up. Most British actors do a really good job at accents. So like when they don't nail it, it's really weird.
Well, I'm gonna be real with you. I thought she was being Irish until the Wikipedia told me she was being Scottish. That may
Well,
just be my ear,
character
though.
is Scottish,
That might be my
yeah.
ear, though, John. I don't know. Anyway,
I don't think they ever say where she's from in the movie. Like you could just be like, yeah, wherever she's from. Like
that's right. Well, there's a lot in the wiki. You know what?
she's dude.
this is for a
of the
different
accents
section
to comment on
of the review.
Like that's
Yeah.
the very least.
Oh,
of my
100%.
She,
but-
I have no idea where she's from, but I assume she really was from Scotland. And I kept thinking, like,
No.
everybody else is so bad that I'm starting to think that hers is bad
Well,
too.
John, you're right, except I expect more from her because of where she's from, I guess, is why I started there. But we'll get to listen. We're going to get to all of it, okay?
What about
Don't worry.
the coal miner? He seems like a real redneck, so he should
Oh
have
my
been able to
God,
pull
okay.
that
No, he's British too.
Is he
Yeah, he's British.
Oh, I didn't
Oh,
know
okay.
that.
That's
think he had
Although
a
I will
decent-
say, out of all of the like hillbilly ass like
his was
effort,
hilarious.
like it wasn't that bad. Like
Yeah.
I've heard some real bad.
Yeah.
I've heard
No.
some real bad Southern accents.
Yeah.
So I'll take that
Well,
one over some others.
I will
More
say,
specific, he had a pretty good Kentucky accent.
Yes, a very good Kentucky.
I will say I
accent.
have actually been learning to tell the difference, which I could not.
He
before,
sounded
so.
very what's that guy who's in Guardians of the Galaxy who played like Star Lord's like whatever, the bald guy. He's in all those horror movies. He was in like Slither.
Sean Gunn.
Dave
No,
Bautista.
no, I'm done with you guys. He's in like all
Oh,
of
Michael
like,
Rooker.
James Gunn's movies.
Michael Rucker.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, like if I closed my eyes, I could have sworn that was Michael Rucker or whatever his name is.
That's a
talking.
Kentucky accent, though.
Yeah.
John,
Yeah.
my point is that it
stop it.
doesn't matter.
No,
No.
It doesn't matter what
you
accent you
sound
have.
like you have boys in your closet.
It, it doesn't matter what accent you have, John. Words are all the same.
They are. That's true.
I
Are
don't think
they?
that's accurate.
We all say the same words. We just say them differently. I
This
know
is
what Eric was
John
going
understands
there.
where I'm going here.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
listen to
maybe
him.
it should just be the two of you then.
Yeah. I guess
Where
English
John
is
and I
the
are touching
only,
tentacles
language
right
here.
now, okay?
You're touching what right now?
Tentacles.
This is
We're
America. We
mind
speak
melding.
American
It's an
here.
this is my mutation that I can mind meld with Schnars.
Oh,
That's just how mutations work. So
I'm learning
go.
so much.
John, this is way off the rails. Please bring us the word of the day.
Bada, bada.
Eric, today's word, transmogrify.
Ooh.
Transmogrify, it's a verb. Trans, T-R-A-N-S-M-O-G-R-I-F-Y. Transmogrify. One definition, transform in a surprising or magical manner. Transmogrify. I thought,
Worse. That's not terrible, I guess.
well, I thought, so this is a synonym for mutate, which is how I arrived at it. But, it also fits for a lot of the, let's say a lot of the silly shit that happens in this movie.
I really appreciate letting us in on the, unveiling your process.
Yeah,
the process.
Listen, I may have found this one about 2 minutes into the show. So
You? What? John? No.
You don't say.
So the origin, though, this was amusing to me. So they listed as mid 17th century, which is fairly specific, but then it just says of unknown origin. So I don't know.
Are you reading Wikipedia? Where are you?
I use Google define and then the word. That's my go-to these days. So
Maybe it's from Maisie Williams, Scotland.
honestly, it could have been.
Every time you guys mention her name, I think of that Mazzy Star who sang that Fade Into You song. That song is a lot better than this movie.
Oh, yeah. Dude, they got some good albums, Mazzy Star. Recommend the whole oeuvre. Eric, would you like me to talk about the movie? I don't know if you're...
I sure
still,
would. I was trying to transfer Joe's cameo for later. I sure would like you to talk about this movie, John.
So, I mean, I don't know, Eric, it seems like you have done more background on the setup here. What I'll say is the New Mutants, I believe the original debut was 1982. Yeah.
That's right.
1982. They are the first spin-off of the X-Men. So the X-Men had gotten super duper popular after launching, I believe, in the mid 70s. Although there's some comic book fans who listen to the show who are going to be upset with me for not knowing this. So the X-Men, well, the X-Men had gotten really popular. They spin out the New Mutants, and they were like the teen version of the mutants. So of the X-Men rather. So the original cast of the New Mutants. I just wanted to read this because I'm just going to start in on critiquing the movie a little bit. And this is true of a lot of the X-Men movies. I get very annoyed when they ask you to remember who all the characters are by giving you just their name. So it's like Rain and I don't know, Ilana or whatever. They call them all by their name. But if you read the comics, if you're familiar with the comic characters, you want to know what their character name is, In any event. So the original cast of New Mutants, Cannonball. So that's Kentucky Boy. Karma.
There's also a lot in the Wikipedia explanation of what the powers actually are that is straight not in the movie.
Yeah. It's they changed them a little bit. But so of the original cast, there was one called Karma. She gets replaced by Ilana, the Russian one. Her name's Magic. That's her mutant name.
Can we talk about that her last name is Rasputin too?
Yeah.
That's OG though.
She's Colossus's sister.
Because comic books and subtlety.
So then Danny Moonstar, who is an original, that's Mirage is her name. Roberto, original, he's Sunspot. And then Rain, the Scottish werewolf woman.
It's let's call it Eddie Munster from here on out, because that's basically what the costume is.
Well, the haircut they gave, it's they basically gave her the Eddie Munster haircut. So yeah, I mean, this movie, it takes the characters and it kind of mashes them up across time and space of the original, kind of the way they were written into the comics. But the setup is that you've got these 5 characters. They're in this asylum out in the middle of nowhere, but it's not Professor Xavier's school. It's a rundown ass asylum that has a bunch of technology in it that's being run by one woman. the actress Alice Braga. Eric, you said this is so.
I looked it up and confirmed she is an existing character in the MCU. She was in Logan.
But Logan's set in the future. This is what was so confusing to me.
And there are runs where she like works with the X-Men. So I don't.
Wasn't it? The time frame of this movie is, they never really clarify either, though.
Yeah, that's true. And I read like it sounded to me like she seems like a good, quote unquote, good character. So it's a little interesting to see like kind of the deal with this movie where she is.
Yeah, I didn't have time to get into like what the Essex Corporation is and yada yada yada. But
that was also a thing mentioned in Logan and one other movie, according to the Wikipedia.
So they set this up. You've got these 5 characters. They're new mutants, literally. Like so a lot of the mutation. And Eric, I know you're excited to talk about this.
It's stupid. It's not a big deal.
It takes place, and this is set up in the X-Men universe, like in the previous X-Men films in the Fox, run. It doesn't. You don't get your mutation until you hit puberty. So these are all like folks who are right around, that special time. And for some of them, their powers are like really strong, and some of them they're not.
It's right on theme. It's right on theme, John, for the Plug It Up podcast coming soon.
Let's see how many references we can work into the show. But it's yeah. And now you made me lose my train of thought. No, well, they all have these backstories where it's like some of them like use their powers accidentally and hurt people, and so now they've all been like brought here. Danny is essentially the main character. She was living on an Indian reservation, a Native American reservation, excuse me, and basically there was an incident that we don't really know what the hell happened, but everyone died, and now she's here. So that's the setup. Spooky things start happening that are pretty unexplained, although it is eventually revealed that Danny's power is like she has psionic power. I believe that's the word they use, psionic. So, and she manifests people's worst fears, but in real life, ? So that's the setup. That's where the spooky stuff comes in. I don't know.
Cool. Cece, what'd you think of the New Mutants? And are you, I mean, this is X-Men, right? Like, how up are you on the X-Men series? Because I guess this is more about the Fox X-Men really than it is like the Marvel universe at this point.
Well, it's totally separate, right? Like
well,
right.
Right.
Well,
this version of it, yeah.
I will say that I used to be very into it. I still really love it. Obviously, I have a lot of other things that have been keeping me busy. So I'll say I was really excited when I saw the trailer. And now that we've discussed that the trailer is completely different than the movie, I'll say that the movie was not for me. It's not that it was bad. It was just, I guess I'm too far removed from like everything that I was supposed to have already known, or like if I had known would have made it a little better in terms of like knowing what was going on. And I mean, there's a basic enough plot that you can follow. And I mean, if you have any sort of background with X-Men, you can kind of understand what's happening. But yeah, it was fine. I won't say that I was entertained because I was.
I think it was fine is a perfectly fair take for this movie.
Fine.
Jojo.
So my history with the X-Men, I think the X-Men, I saw the first one, which was what, like 2003 or something?
Might have been like 2000.
Yeah.
Time.
At a lovely theater in New Jersey, which is recently like closed in past years. It was right across from this like riverboat restaurant. It was like themed on the Hudson, closed also. And after I saw that movie, I said, this is something I never want to see again. And I have not.
Any feelings, Joe, on the 90s after school cartoon, like afternoon, like syndicated cartoon?
Yeah, like never got into it.
Yeah.
Comic books have never really been my thing.
I mean, you and I are pretty of one mind on that for the most part. Yeah.
And like even like superhero movies aren't really like high on my list. And the ones that are, like X-Men is probably like right below Howard the Duck or, anything else I can think of. A lot of like it's like My So-Called Life, but with like superpowers. And this movie just didn't do it for me. I completely agree with what Cece said, except for the part where she said it's not a bad movie, because I think it is.
Okay, maybe I should have. I mean, what I'm saying is, there's worse movies than this one, and I would rather sit through this than like Annabelle again. So
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I think Annabelle you can at least like goof on, and there's like some jump scares. This was. I mean, I said it over text, but I'm not really joking that much. Like, it's very much like Twilight, but with like some mutant powers.
Well, okay,
I think calling it Twilight's a little
unfair. You can be on
unfair.
your phone while watching this movie, and you're not lost or distracted.
You say Twilight. I mean, listen,
so,
when you say
full
Twilight,
disclosure.
it's like because there's teenagers and there's like some breathy romance kind of stuff. But I feel like calling anything Twilight is just like it's got to be real bad to be
It's
Twilight.
low. It's
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I would watch Twilight, the first one again, before I would watch this.
I
Vampire baseball. That's a lot of
baseball.
fun. Like,
All
if
right,
they had
bold.
some mutant baseball in this, maybe I would have been like, all right, well, I enjoyed that. But there was no baseball of any kind or sports in general.
Bold
There was like
stance.
some swimming, maybe, which is like the most boring of all sports. So I don't know where we're going here, but I did enjoy it.
Casey.
I enjoyed this movie fine. It was not good movie, but it's a perfectly serviceable movie for me in that I sat down and watched it from beginning to end. I paid attention. I was kind of into it, but it didn't do anything to blow my mind. It's absolutely mediocre. I've been a big X-Men fan for a long time since a kid. I didn't read the New Mutants a lot, but I was aware of them and a lot of the characters and everything. So I didn't have a strong connection for that going into this movie, but it was fun seeing them try to do something different with the X-Men setup for a change instead of just the dudes running around with their underwear on the outside of their pants saving the city all the time. It was interesting to see them take something different on that. Whether it worked or not, probably not the way they wanted it to. And it could have been scarier. I would say too, though, like Eric had mentioned earlier, that this was like a good starter movie for some kind of thrillers and tension and stuff. And I think that's right. I mean, the plot on this is pretty see-through, pretty predictable. You can tell where it's going right away as soon as they start dropping hints. And so I think for that purpose, it makes it an okay flick.
As long as you're okay to have the conversation with however old your kid is about what a virgin is, because that at one point in the movie she's like, virgin.
It just reminded me, I mean, we can get into it, but like they're watching Buffy the whole time, and it made me think about Clueless and how they, like, that's a line in Clueless, like constantly used. And I was like, is that supposed to
virgin?
who can't drive? And I was
can't
like, are
drive.
we supposed to be making that connection?
Oh,
I
she
don't
gets so
know.
upset. That is a good
Yeah.
one.
That was like a second order connection, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
John.
So I agree with Casey in that it was at least like conceptually an interesting attempt to do something different in the superhero space. And I think if you're going to try to bring the New Mutants into some sort of, I don't know, cinematic universe, this was always the problem with the X-Men movies is like they're, and now as an aside, I guess, like, it was such a strong highlight to like how fucking good Disney is at the like MCU Marvel stuff, because this felt like it was just like so half baked in sort of those broader connections.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, so
And
it apparently was initially after Disney bought it, there were plans to make it part of MCU, like Professor X. Well,
The
there
problem
were
is
plans.
they don't control all the rights, and so then they have to like.
There were
bring
there were
in-
also plans to have it part of the larger X-Men universe, like Professor X and some other of the mutants, like actual ones.
I
we
think
know were
it
supposed
is
to be
in
there.
like you can go read the plans for the MCU for the next like several cycles, and I do think
It
the
was
X-Men get brought.
Can I?
X-Men, yes, not this. This was apparently mentioned at one point and then yanked from like everything.
So, but all these, I mean, so all right. Ultimately, where I land is with Joe. I think this movie is like pretty garbage and like, like almost to the point of, well, whatever. We can get into it. I mean, it like may turn people off from comic book movies who like would enjoy other comic book movies. That's like one problem I have with it. It is funny watching it because, and look, like you mentioned, Eric, a lot of the production stuff. This thing had like a unique production hell kind of existence. But it's amazing. Like you've got Maisie Williams, the guy from Stranger Things, Heaton, I think is his last name, something like that.
The one who
and-
got
and-
arrested for all those drugs.
Oh, did he? Is he like a
Oh, I
big?
didn't
Oh,
know
that's
that.
cool. I mean, I like him more now. And then
John,
Anya Taylor-Joy
maybe
is
wait
like
till you
the-
find out what kind of drugs, John.
Oh, is it? They
I
were
don't
not,
know,
not,
I'm just
not
saying.
cool ones. They were like, he was
There's a
all
line.
He was hoarding
Cool, aren't they?
vaccines. The J&J.
Jordan vaccine.
It's got a blood clot.
But like Anya Taylor-Joy is having like a huge moment because of
Yeah.
the Queen's Gambit,
And she would have
like,
shot
you
this
know,
presumably before she blew up like that
They-
too.
They shot it like 4
During
years
split
ago, as you
time or
mentioned.
something. Yeah.
I had no idea she was Russian.
Oh my God. Joe's best comment over email was just that her accent in this movie made him feel better about his Yuri accent he's been doing all these years.
Yeah, like honestly, like I feel less offensive about like not just the Russian, but like every accent I've ever done.
No, but what's funny is that the two main characters are Danny, who's the Cheyenne woman. I don't know if she's actually Native American or not. Blue
She
Hunt
is.
is her name. Okay,
Yeah,
so
she's
I mean,
Lakota.
Thank God, because that
would have been a
real.
problem. Yeah, no, I assumed, but they make her the main character, sort of alongside Maisie Williams. She's the least famous. I mean, she's one of the lesser famous people in the movie.
John.
I don't know. So it's just weird. Like the whole thing is super weird.
It's
Setting it up as a horror movie was not a great idea if it's not going to deliver on that. And I feel like it just doesn't. It never really got there.
it's pretty wild, and it does feel a little half underbaked, John, kind of to your point. I mean, it would have been fascinating to see like if Disney had not stepped in and they had just gone ahead with reshoots and tried to make it more horror, like even if it still would have been a hot mess, like where would that have gone? That could have been really fascinating.
Oh, I would have been more interested.
But
in
I
that.
think what I realized in that, like sitting in to watch this, is that pretty much all my hype came from that first. I had no idea. It blew my mind when I read that trailer came out in 2017. So that means for like
Jesus,
4
yeah.
years, I've been like sitting, being like, oh yeah, that new Mutants trailer was pretty cool. That seems cool. Like, we want to talk about time dilation. Holy crap, Schnars. But like, I think it became apparent to me pretty quickly sitting down and watching it that wasn't what this was. So I was able to kind of reorient myself, which I think helped with my enjoyment. And then I started thinking about the starter horror thing, because it really is just, it's got all the tropes. It has scares, sort of. It has these like kind of sequences where they're being confronted with their fears, which actually it is weirdly it-like, considering the influence that movie had on this. But presumably that happened after it was written. I like the atmosphere. I like the effects. Like, I enjoy some the little tiny dragon. Little tiny dragon was pretty cool.
Lockheed.
I'll give you that. The little dragon was
That was
enjoyable.
pretty dope. There is just some, as we've already covered ad nauseum, heinous accent work in this movie across the board. Everyone is bad. I will defer to Cece on this one guy's Southern accent, but it felt so weird to me while I was watching it.
I mean, I'm not saying that like it was amazing, but I'll take that over some other
Yeah.
efforts.
It's just super interesting. I have read, I don't mind the YA stuff. Like, obviously it's not aimed at us, but like, I know this film's getting a lot of praise for the kind of the relationship between the main character and Maisie Williams.
Mhm.
Obviously,
That's
like
true.
bringing some representation there, and it's pretty sweet. Like, just kind of the way they do all that stuff. I do think like your general X-Men affinity will probably weigh heavily here. Like, if you're way into X-Men, you may be more willing to kind of roll with this. For me, it's like I've always kind of been a little arm's length with it, but I loved the new class a lot. Like that whole, or not the new, was it the new class? That's the one that was set in
it
the
was
60s.
called there is one called the New
Like
Class,
that
I
whole
think.
kind of strain, like the more recent ones, I've enjoyed a lot. There's just like an inherent silliness with the X-Men to me that I have a little bit of a difficult time getting over. And that kind of leads into my like thing about the mutation thing. It's silly. It's not, I'm half serious, but it's like some comic book writer, and when did they create the X-Men?
Like
Was
the
it
70s.
70s.
right?
Yeah.
Like took a science word like mutation, and like that was probably like in vogue at the time, and then created this whole series around it. Now we have such an understanding of like DNA and like what mutations actually are, but it's like, it's just so silly, right? Like the idea of a mutation in this series, it's like you're either Maisie Williams, who just looks like Eddie Munster and has bad Spirit Halloween like nails on,
She
or-
can turn into a wolf.
or you're but it's like it's just like the cheesiest ass wolf
Oh,
ever.
she only turns into a wolf like you.
It's-
Well, you see her.
She
running
gets frozen
around
half transformation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of.
Or-
I thought at one point she was like getting that like rat hair, like
Yeah,
the maid did in
Like-
the Witches.
Or you're Anna Taylor-Joy, who, John, I would love to know the specific gene that gives you metal arm / sword. Like, I
Well,
would love
she's
to know what
yeah,
that
she's
is.
a mystic. Her
And
name's
then,
Magic.
but then we
in
go all the way to
comic.
like this main character who her quote unquote mutation is being able to manifest so like other people's fears.
yeah.
So I get that there's like it's magic fantasy kind of thing. I'm not being an asshole, John. It's just like there's
this is all fair. in
Yeah.
my
I
book.
can be an
That's
asshole.
kind of
I'm
our
not
shtick,
trying to
right?
be
Like,
one
I
right
mean-
now. What I'm saying is that like there is just like, and Joe and I are not comic book fans, so that's in the mix here.
Yeah.
There is an inherent silliness to X-Men that I find you have to do this really well to get me to get over that, and that's what I feel like a movie like First Class did. I also my obsession with the Fassbender, well documented, so I was pretty and McAvoy.
it's-
I'm way into McAvoy too, so they
I
had-
think your point though, like X-Men works better in comics than on film, except for Wolverine. Wolverine, like I put
Dude,
that because
I saw
as a
Logan.
character,
Logan's
he's a
like one
fucking-
of my favorite movies of all
Yeah,
time.
it's
Logan
it's
is
an
incredible.
excellent
Exactly.
movie. But that's also
Because
it's
they
only really
they
about
pare it
him.
down and it's really a microcosm about this one character. And I think like that the small story aspect of this in some ways is what works the best. Or at least like what has the most potential.
so
So really quick though, I'm just saying, despite all of that stuff, my issue with the X-Men, I kind of enjoy it. Like I could see this coming on cable and just leaving it on. And that's more of a compliment than I would give a lot of movies that we watched in the last year or so,
it's like Joe wants to leave Twilight on every time he sees it.
You know
come
what?
on.
Yeah.
I thought this end
I
fight.
would 100% leave Twilight. Like this, I would feel like I don't want HBO thinking that this is a thing people want to watch. Like I want to make sure this is not.
I really enjoyed
Playing
this
this
end
place.
fight. I loved the weird dinosaur or the weird dragon thing. I liked the insane bear demon. To your point, John, like I think that maybe that would have been served better to go a little more into the character and the power stuff. Like I'm reading the Wikipedia, and whoever wrote that Wikipedia is 100% filling in details from the screenplay that are straight up not in the movie. And I was like, well, it would have been cool to like get just like a little bit more of that context.
They edited the shit out of this movie because it's almost like an exactly 90 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you
Like-
can't see like cameras or boom mics or anything, John. Like they obviously do.
No,
But,
it's
like-
it's short though.
No, it felt this was I guess by way of criticism. It felt longer than that to me. Like that's
Oh yeah.
but so I guess
3
what I'm
hours
saying
in,
is, like,
I was only 10 minutes in.
I'm sure there's like a 2-hour cut where there's like more of the character stuff, and the studio's just like, no, this
Well,
is not.
because it
that's-
does weirdly have the
That's
structure.
a hate crime if that exists.
You know what though, John? It weirdly has a structure of a horror movie. Like that's
it
kind of the
does.
thing. If you go in expecting kind of a superhero thing, you don't get that really until the last 10 minutes.
no.
Most of the movie is like these characters being confronted by their fears, and those vignettes are that's kind of the structure of
Well,
the whole movie.
and they don't
Yeah.
reveal what their superpowers are. This was all the stuff
Yeah.
that was like kind of frustrating me a little bit because I'm like, I thought these were the fucking New Mutants. No, Eric, like the point on it being a small movie is something I wanted to talk about because I sort of agree. I think it obviously it helps from a budget standpoint. It helps from like a screenwriting standpoint. You're not introducing like shitloads of characters. There's literally 6 characters in the whole movie. It lowers the stakes in a way that I think doesn't help. Like it makes the movie feel small. And the superhero stuff, the problem with that is when it feels small, like they're so fucking strong. Like they can do anything. So it's like, what you're like, what, what's the point here? Like they could all kill each
Yeah.
other at any moment, or they could all save each, it's like, it
It's-
just felt, and part of it is they don't know how to use their powers. So like, there's a little bit of that, but it's not
I mean, it
well
feels like
executed.
if
But is
Marvel
that,
had
is
this,
that much different than an actual X-Men spinoff, though?
but I think the
No,
problem.
but I think it's why X-Men doesn't work that well, like compared to Avengers.
if
That's like the
Marvel did
general
this,
point.
if Marvel
John, are
did
you
this,
flirting with me? What is happening
if
here?
Marvel did this from the beginning, though, they would have just made it something like WandaVision. They would have made it a limited series where they could
Yeah.
each episode like dig into a character.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think that's what bothered me the most. Like I just would have. I mean, I understand that like you having some backstory already would have back history would have already helped. But like even with the two main or the main love interest, like at least give me more of that if like I to root for. Like I was super excited about it, but then it's like you only get maybe a handful of moments where they're even really talking to just each other. So it's all very like splicey, and it's really hard to like, I don't know, dig into anywhere.
Yeah.
It was one of those moments where it was like, oh, that's sweet, and then you never really see it again.
You're like, well, okay.
Can we just address for a second the fact that these are like teenagers, I think, when they made the movie. There are several shower scenes where it's like,
dude,
what
there's
are we doing
bro,
here?
there's the one, there's like full side boob.
I mean, maybe, I don't know.
I mean, not, I mean, pretty more than I would have felt comfortable seeing from that
Well, that's
character
my point,
who
is, like-
appears to be like 16 years old. Don't they say
it
she's
was
16?
very strange.
So, but like,
She's
there's a
13
comment
in
to
the comics.
No, in
Yeah.
the movie, I think Anna Taylor-Joy at one point says something about her being 16 because she's like, "You're 16, you haven't figured your power out yet."
And there's like I said, there's multiple shower scenes of Maisie Williams, and then Blue. What's her last name? I
Hunt.
forget.
Blue
Yeah.
Hunt.
Blue Hunt.
Cantrell.
Yeah. But like in comment to Schnars' what he was talking about with this being the smaller movie and stuff, I think it's interesting because, well, one, this isn't a Marvel movie essentially. It's something that came over through Fox, so it wasn't created by them and whatnot. But like with the fact that this has been delayed since 2017, I think you can also extrapolate some seeing what Marvel's doing now, like with WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I could see this as an early attempt in that smaller format to try and find a way to introduce more characters without having to do the whole Avengers thing where they've now mastered that with WandaVision, doing a season, say, here you go. Because now we're ready for Wanda to show up in anything as a major character.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they were attempting.
And I mean, I'm with you. Like, I would have loved to have seen more. Like, I mean, we get some of the like group therapy sessions, and it's like, they don't talk about anything there. So it's like, why are we even here? Like, why are we wasting the film to be in here? The times that we see the guy like practicing his power, like, why aren't we seeing more of that? Like, we have Sunspot who never is spent washing the dishes the majority of the time, which is like a weird thing. Like I don't really understand like why that was such an important like.
I
part
thought
of the
that one
character.
dishwashing scene where he blasts the thing behind him was gonna be, like the only time he uses powers until the
Right.
end.
Yeah.
But like when we get to the pool scene, I'm like, okay, like, so I understand why you don't want to use your power. That's great. Like, I need more of that, or more of somebody like trying to work on their powers. Whereas we don't get any of that. We just get like these weird, which I mean, makes sense as to why like they're trying to make it more of a horror movie of like, you don't really understand what's going on. And like, are they locked in
More
there?
mystery,
Are they prisoners?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but
That's really.
no,
Sorry,
go
I didn't
ahead.
mean to cut you off.
No,
I was
you're
going to
fine.
say that's really kind of the whole movie too,
Yeah.
and I think it's a result of the editing because you see a
Mhm.
lot of that stuff. They'll set up something big, and they're hinting towards stuff like with those group therapy scenes and stuff, and they all got some heartbreaking story to it. But you get it in a one-line drop. Somebody reacts and they move on, so there's really no weight to it whatsoever.
Yeah.
The like maybe I missed it. That happens sometimes, John. But the Slenderman in this movie,
Yes.
Mhm.
like that,
Oh,
I guess
yeah.
according to
What the fuck was going
Wikipedia,
on
they're
there?
like a representation from one of the characters of like sexual assault that happened in her past, and it's like
Yeah.
that was on the Wikipedia for the movie, and I'm like, I'm call bullshit on that because I
Well,
don't remember that from the
I
movie.
mean, I could have interpreted that. I mean, she's a little girl who's like, when Ilya's like, no, like, leave her alone. Like, I totally understand. I got that, like, that was probably what was happening. It was weird to me that, like, they were watching Buffy and these Slendermen were like a pretty much ripoff from the silent episode of Buffy where they got like where everybody in the town goes silent. Like, they look just like that, except they have a smiley face mask.
Was
on.
that the episode that they showed later on the TV?
Maybe.
I thought maybe.
So, I
I
mean,
think
like,
it
maybe-
was.
It
Were
might-
they dressed like extras from Saturday Night Fever in that episode?
Dude,
was
it's like
that a thing?
Slender Man, but they straight up, and maybe that's something to do with the origin that they just don't tell us, but they straight up have like 70s style like dress shirts on.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I guess if she was like in Russia or wherever, like, you know, I mean, I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know.
Well,
Like, there was just so much that you had
just
to like
left.
stretch to be like, well, is this supposed to be making sense?
See,
or
it's all that backstory stuff. I think so. The bear story, the bear, like the big psychic bear,
Mhm.
that is from the comics. That's like apparently there was a run where they like did this whole backstory for the character, and that bear thing comes up. All the other characters' backstories, I assume, are just like invented for the movie, because like Colossus and his sister were not like, at least from what I remember, were never like abused as children in Russia. I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
that's like
they
a
didn't
very
really mention that connection.
Well, because it made it seem like that she was being like tested, or like like medically tested on or something because of her powers, and then like whatever else happened. I will say that for what is Blue Danny, is that her name?
Danny,
yeah. Danny's character, like I appreciated the way that, like, it was a little too circular and heavy-handed there at the end, but like I appreciated the like effort we get into her backstory. But like if we're going to use her backstory to introduce her power because they're so connected, then like, you know, maybe we should have had a group therapy session of like, well, this is what I'm scared of, and then we understand, oh, I get what's happening here a little bit better, instead of being like someone just yelling it's her fault. Well, okay, yeah, we get it, it happened when she showed up, but like it was a little too like Carrie-esque, where it was just like yelling and throwing shit at another character.
For this place being like a facility that they were telling them that they were there to help them, they showed her psionic energy alarm going off a lot, and Dr. Reyes didn't do shit.
Yeah, she just kept looking at her, and I was like, shouldn't you be doing something?
This was also like one of the best, fake technology in a movie. Like when she gets the email and it's like,
oh my god,
the results have been, it's like
beep, boop, beep,
and it
type in your code.
Well, and how about like when it's like downloading results and it like takes it like a full like 30 seconds?
Casey
like it's some
just reminded me, okay, the doctor's name is Dr. Reyes, but because it's an R into an R, it constantly sounds like they're saying Dr. Aes, and I just kept thinking about Planet of the Apes the whole time.
Dr. Zayas.
That had to have been like
maybe. I
purposeful,
mean,
right?
I don't know.
Well, could have.
Well, no, this is a character from the comic book, so.
Oh, true. I hated the scene where she was like, and I mean, not to like project a bunch of, like political
Please get the fuck out of this.
A lot of political feeling onto it, but I just felt that the scene of Dr. Reyes and Danny, where like she has been told to like handle Danny because she's a like a threat. I was like, I don't know that we really should have compared, especially someone from an indigenous group, to a dog that you're putting down, and like, I don't know, it got really weird, and I was just like,
there was like weird references to like, well, my parents were vets, and like while she was working, I'm like, how does that relate to what's happening here? Like,
it's because about sometimes you come across an animal you just have to put down, right?
Which like I got where they were going, but I was like, did nobody
it felt real weird.
Be like, this is maybe a little poor taste, and I'm just like, it just seemed like, for the lack of like how much emphasis we get in a lot of other dialogue through this movie, that the one time we do get a lot of like layered, like, oh well, my parents were vets, and they tried to save our animal, but it was rabid, and I'm just like, why are we getting this whole like soliloquy about you putting down this dog and you comparing this woman, I mean like this preteen girl, to a dog, and then everything else is just like, nah, you can figure it out.
Not to mention the fact that from what we've seen, that Dr. Reyes, the only message she got was that fax that came up on the big screen about, more study needed, powers unknown, highly dangerous, suggested to terminate. So instead of being a good evil doctor and tricking her in there, well, she did that part fine, got her into the lab. She should have walked up and stuck her, not give her a speech.
You gotta do the monologue. You gotta do the monologue.
That's true.
But it was still so like, I don't know, like you could have it could have been a better plot device, and instead it just felt really like it felt like they were trying to be like, oh, I'm so clever, this is great, like this is a great like analogy for the whole movie, and you're like,
little
and they
did
could
she
have
know.
done anything there, because Dr. Reyes is telling her, we don't know what your power is.
Right.
But then she's giving a monologue. So that girl could have done anything laying on that table.
But that's a perfect point too, because this whole time, if she's supposed to be scared, and that's like her her energy is projecting everybody else's fears. Like, why weren't I mean, was it because the doctor could like set up force fields? I don't understand.
Maybe
any
the
of that.
doctors, maybe
And I
the
was just like, there's
doctors,
a lot of
maybe the doctor's
thought.
biggest fear was that Eddie Munster was hiding in the rafters above her.
That's true.
Just a
Good
thought.
point.
Would have been
I
a
gotta
good
say,
fear
like,
to have.
Yeah.
As terrible this movie was, the fact that it brought fired up Cece makes me so happy. Like
I know.
this is
Look
I'm
out.
so happy right now.
Listen,
Like
it's not like I almost needed a glass of wine before this. If I didn't have to write a paper after this, I'd have been like
I am 3
I'd have
beers
been
deep. Like
this again.
You know, the one thing I did think was good about this movie, their practical effects team, because like the wounds on Dr. Zaius and a couple of the other bloody scenes, like when they
The
branded
painting,
Rain,
yeah, that
they
was
did really good with those effects.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I considered good.
Well, and I thought Sunspot was pretty, like
Yeah, the CGI wasn't bad. None
Yeah.
of it
It
was
was-
stupid.
No.
Stupid.
although the smiley guys, like that was
Yeah.
pretty fucking
I'm
shitty. Like
Yeah.
it made me think of Blink 182.
yeah. It felt very like we didn't have enough time to fully render
Right?
these. Like
It's like,
Yeah.
Disney was knocking on the door and we had to hand this
Yeah,
over.
just smooth his
That,
face
how
out.
do you have those tall, lanky, smiley face guys and not hire
Here,
Doug Bradley?
My kid drew this. Can you just do this?
right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about,
Oh.
or should we wrap it up here?
Don't watch this movie.
Would
Yeah.
you, John? Anything else?
No.
I just wanted to talk about my DNA thing, which I got to, so I'm good.
You're good. You're really let's wrap.
I'm all
yeah.
set. All right, John. Would you recommend?
No.
Joe,
No.
Casey,
I would say if you find it on cable.
Cece.
No.
Yeah, this to me is like the quintessential. I'm hungover on a Sunday and I don't want
Yeah.
to move, and it's on cable, and like maybe I'm playing Switch at the same time. Like,
Exactly.
I feel like if I walked into a Target and they had this playing on the TVs as like a demo, like I would feel a need to change it, like just to make sure this doesn't happen to people.
that's very interesting to me lately, Joe. The movies that make you this angry and the ones that don't, because I don't
It's
I
not.
don't get
It's
it.
just
Yeah.
you know what it is like. You and I don't like comic books, and like this, at least like I watch like the Avengers, and it's like fun. I don't really
Yeah.
get what's going on, but it's like fun. Like this is like a comic book movie with like zero fun. So like, what am I here for?
Well,
Like,
Joe-
zero fun or zero terror. Like there was literally
yeah,
nothing.
Joe, do you
Mhm.
remember the
Yeah.
beginning of quarantine when you and I made the Slack pledge that we were going to watch all of the Marvel movies because we haven't seen like almost any of them? And I
yeah,
made
I
it.
kept up with it, buddy. I kept going.
I made it 1.5 Avengers movies in and was like, I can't do this. No,
No,
I
I watched the
listen,
Avengers.
the only one you need to watch is Thor Ragnarok.
no, I need to. I
Dude,
need to.
the
So
Thor
this
movies
is what
are
I did. I
great.
watched the
Like, I'll
first
do that.
Avengers.
Yeah.
I watched the first Avengers. It was fine. I watched then I went to Iron Man 2 because in the continuity I was told like that was next, or Iron Man 3, I think. It's those.
Yeah, don't
it's
bother with that
bad.
stuff.
I couldn't.
Ah,
Iron Man 3 is pretty
No.
bad.
skip all that
The
shit.
Avengers
Listen,
were a lot of fun. The Thor
Thor
movies were
Ragnarok.
fun.
Yeah, I don't think I really
Yeah.
care about the Avengers. I do kind of want to see anything with my boy Baby Schnars in it. So
Winter Soldier is solid. That's a good watch.
yeah, I
Yeah,
need
see
to
those
see
I
that.
Yeah.
can't get into because like they're more like serious and like
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about that.
Thor
Yeah, well,
Ragnarok to me is like Deadpool, but like without the like.
Well,
Yeah.
It's a
the
lot of
same,
fun. We actually saw
Tiki
that on the
Taki
Disney
Watiti.
cruise. Like
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
fun.
like yeah.
So you
it
were
was a
so
ton
you
of
were
fun.
lit too.
Ragnarok is great. Yeah, yeah. But like they have like a full on like 3D theater on the boat. So like Leslie and I got to like go see a movie by ourselves and like we were like half in the tank and like
Love it.
watching this. We were having a blast. It's a lot of fun. Those Guardians of the Galaxy movies are good too, except for that that fuck face
Yeah.
weird Jesus-y guy.
I was gonna say, except for the one of the main.
I think
fucking
that's his, I
Yeah,
think
the
that's
main
his
guy,
name
but-
actually, Joe. All right, guys. I'm gonna say. Oh, I did it. I did say it already. Sure, on cable. All right, let's take a
I
quick.
think it goes without saying if we're talking about other movies that
Yeah.
we've already
Let's take
hit
a-
about.
It's exactly that memorable.
We covered my memory issues last week, Cece. Okay. All right, let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
He jumped. I was like, it's okay, honey. You'll be all right. She's just on the edge the whole time. Being able to scream in a theater, it's fun.
The best scary movie since The Sixth Sense. You'll have a spooky good time.
You're the scariest movie I've ever seen.
The Ring, rated PG-13. Now playing.
Ray Wise from Twin Peaks, and you are listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
Josh Norris.
Yeah.
Next week, right here on Bloody Good Horror, the debut of the trailer for Caitlin's podcast. Plug it up. Plug it up, John, is about the monstrous menstruation trope in horror, which there's a mention of in this movie. That's why I brought it up earlier. Literally, the Anna Taylor-Joy character is like, you're 16, you don't know your power yet? She's like, shouldn't you've gotten your mutant period by now? She straight up says that in this movie.
She said mutant period. How
She did,
Okay.
yeah.
What is a mutant period?
A regular period.
So, John, that trailer is going to come next week, and by that point, we should have a place where you can go subscribe
That's a
and
thinker.
check that out. Caitlin's new podcast coming soon.
It's amazing.
Is that for patrons, or is that like
No, that's going
World
to
Wide
be
Web, or what?
World Wide Web, Joe.
Mhm.
Available
look at
for
that.
all. Cece, you just did an episode with her.
I did. We talked about the Vitch.
The Vivitch.
Itch.
Love it.
Starring Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yep.
That was her breakout.
It was.
Put her on the map.
Talking about periods. Every movie she's in.
Oh. I'd like to be on the Diva Cup episode where that gets discussed. 'Cause I
Questions?
have questions and thoughts.
info@bloodygoodhorror.com if you want to send Joe any Diva Cup thoughts. It's also where you can send email. We got an email from Andy, who runs bloodygoodhorror.com. He's just checking in with an update on the website. He says Sophie and Andy are checking out, I like how he refers to himself in the third person, the Kansas City-based Panic Film Fest. People can check out their lineup and join the fest second weekend by visiting panicfilmfest.com. I believe that was the one, too, that the proceeds go to Sophie's local little indie theater there in Kansas City. So check that out. All right.
Sophie, direct.
John, my thoughts on Godzilla vs. Kong seem to really anger a longtime BGH fan who wrote us in.
I don't know why your thoughts was. I'm struggling to remember. I can't wait to hear what things
I'm
you said.
fairly excited.
Here's the
about this.
thing. I feel like a lot of these things are things that some other people agreed with me on, but it may have just been my fervence with which I was expressing them, John.
Okay.
This is from Chris. Chris is a long time. He says, my blood boiled listening to the crew's, but mainly Eric's criticisms of Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm really trying to appreciate the Eric character as antagonistic therapy for my personal development of patience, resilience, maturity,
Did
and
I write
forgiveness. Quote unquote serenity now. If I was from the South, I'd say bless your heart and move on. But since I feel this happens too often, and I've resisted the urge to respond countless times before, and I really love Godzilla. In brief, the majority of the so-called plot hole criticisms were answered in the movie, and that's just from my memory after one viewing. Please believe me, or maybe watch again. I'm not going to watch it again, my dude. Because if you ask
there's
for proof...
no way that the sun underground
No.
was answered. in
Or
movie.
the skull they find, like whatever. It's fine. It's fine. Let me finish. Because if you ask for proof, I will feel compelled to do a thorough debunking of your assertions, and ain't nobody got time for that. I grant you, there's a lot that goes by quickly and can be easily missed as observed on a second viewing, so I don't blame you for having questions. However, just because you don't have the answers to those questions does not mean the answers don't
Drops
exist.
of Jupiter in his hand.
And is not grounds for reflexively attacking the movie. Just because something doesn't make sense to you doesn't automatically mean it doesn't make sense. And I feel like I'm being gaslit right now, Joe. And
Agree to disagree.
And this impulse to snap judgment is getting in the way of objective movie discussion. I know we're all doing the best we can, and I genuinely love each and every one of the crew. Thank you all for the podcast and best
Agree to disagree on that one too, Chris.
best wishes on a safe and speedy return to the theaters. Your faithful listener for 13 years, Chris and Madison. P.S. Friendly reminder that in addition to paying attention, suspension of disbelief is still a useful skill in enjoying monster movies.
Huh.
I just have two things to say in response to this, John, and then I'll let Joe say whatever's cooking in his brain right now because I can see it.
Mine was real. I think I may have met Chris at a concert
Maybe.
in Illinois at one point.
Oh
but,
yeah, I mean it's possible he if he's in Madison, it's possible we met him at a meetup I mean the name I definitely know the name. I do not want Chris to write me his rebuttal, not because I don't want to be rebutted, but because he sounds like I made him. I don't want him to sit in that place of anger, John. I don't think anger is good. I think he should
It's not
go of it.
healthy.
The only thing in this email that I'm going to actively refute is the idea, John, that objective criticism of film is a thing that exists.
It's tough.
I was gonna say, I mean,
We follow certain movie
Cece,
critics.
as the academic. Here,
Listen,
no,
we
I was gonna
follow.
say,
This is what I would
from
say.
an
We
academic
follow
standpoint,
certain.
I'm probably leaning towards. I mean, you come to it with your own bias. So
That's what I'm
is
saying. We
anything
fo-
ever objective. So I'm just saying, I'm
Thank
agreeing.
you. Thank you. I
Please
couldn't
take
tell.
note. I'm agreeing with
I couldn't
Eric
tell
here.
where that was going. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You sounded
Man,
real fired up.
Chris.
You're so mad about the mutants. Like I didn't know where that was going.
I'll say, I mean, we all enjoyed the movie. We all recommended
Dude,
it.
so did I.
Just because we pointed out some issues with it doesn't mean that that we disliked it. It just means that, we have questions, Chris. And, if you just want to follow blindly, that's how 2016 happened. So I think in this day and age, we need to expect more and ask questions, Chris. And I think you need to also.
Listen,
I suspended plenty of disbelief in
the
enjoying
number one mistake is taking any of my movie opinions seriously, John. I'm mostly here to entertain. So
Also
but
fair.
we love you, Chris. I hope
mean, if-
you I hope you cleansed your soul by writing that email. We appreciate you as a
Yeah,
listener.
even if we all like the movie, we always still have to have that objective conversation though, because otherwise the show turns into that Chris Farley skit
The
from
one-
back in the
listen,
day. You
the
remember
one-
that time you were in that one movie? That was cool.
Exactly. The one
Casey and Eric recommended this shitty movie we just watched. Like, look at that.
the one thing I would like him to explain for my own amusement is how they stared at each other through a 10,000-mile long hole.
It's not 10,000 miles.
They-
Like,
I just want to. Did y'all discuss that? Because I want to know. Like, I loved the movie. I thought it was super fun, but I didn't understand how humans had to take a spaceship, but then Godzilla could just.
He just jumps.
Well, he just blew a
Yeah.
hole through Earth, and
Yeah.
I was like, well, why didn't we have him do that from the beginning and then just like rappel down?
Cece, they looked at each other through the hole after that. They gave each other the stink eye through
They're
the
like
hole.
Titans. I get that part. I mean, King Kong didn't need a spaceship to go in there. I get it. I have a suspension of disbelief, but I'm just like,
Look,
ow.
when you got fuck eyes for somebody, you can stare across the bar.
Yeah,
You can
tentacles,
stare through the earth.
tentacles, Eric, that was their mutation.
Here, okay. I wasn't gonna do this, John. I'm doing it. My problem is that a lot of these specific things I pointed out, in my opinion, are sort of like screenwriting corners cut, allowing them to just get to set pieces quicker and like get to where they're trying to go quicker instead of like putting a little more time into like make us actually work to get from point A to point B. That's where
Well,
it,
that
to
train
me
ticket,
starts
that
feeling.
10,000-mile
Making
train
the,
ticket to the
the-
center of the earth is expensive.
Yeah. Making the studios
Listen,
happy
I will
is
even
a
buy-
real big corner.
I will even buy Godzilla somehow blasting down to the center of the earth if they don't lock eyes through the hole that's that they tell me
Wow.
is 10,000 miles long.
Well, he
Maybe
had
there's a
nice
lot of carrots
slow
on Skull
breath.
Island. They got good eyesight.
He's on
Yeah.
his beta carotene game. Is that what you're saying? He's just got like,
yeah.
Look,
You don't know what's in the
Distance
bottom
isn't
of
going
your-
to stop you. Yeah. Distance isn't going to stop you. You want to exchange some fuck faces, all right?
yeah, this whole movie it's a really good ad for
A lot of-
proper eye care.
A lot of foreplay, a lot of build up.
Yeah. Anyway, I wasn't gonna do that, and then I did it. So here we are. That's it. That's it for emails, Joe. I'm gonna pull this cameo, but why don't we do it after Twitter? Why don't we Twitter first?
All right. Godzilla versus Kong 2 full release. We are on Twitter at BG Horror. You can use the hashtag AskBGH to send in a question or comment or, hey, just get to know us. First up from our buddy Attorney at Space. That's Adam. And I like this because usually we get the opposite of this. What would be the worst mutant power to have?
Like
I mean, I think the
melting?
Flatulence.
Eddie Munster disease? I don't know. There's not much to
yeah,
it.
I think like the power just to make like some hair grow on the back of your neck. Like that's what's the use of that?
That's the one thing I loved about like with Mystery Men and stuff like that. And there was, and I think it was Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog where Howard Wolowitz from Big Bang, his power was he was moist.
Yes.
He could sweat.
Isn't it Rogue? Isn't Rogue the one that like can't touch people? She's got to like wear
Yeah.
the gloves or
Yeah.
whatever. That seems like a bummer.
I was about to say that one.
She's like super. She's got like she can fly. Like she can.
Well, because
powerful.
she can absorb everybody else's power.
How do
so
you
it's like
how do you rub one out, John?
double.
Oh,
with
I mean, I'm
gloves.
not saying I would want it.
I'm sure you
know.
can
She
touch
could get, like, a
yourself.
stick or something.
Yeah.
Can you? I don't
Or
know.
Gambit figured it out.
Whoa.
What are they
Let's hear
called?
more about John's stick theory.
I meant if you're rogue, not me. You know.
One stick, or you can like bend the stick.
Come on,
It's like an
John.
Evil Dead
Go on.
situation.
Is that part of the superpower that you
Look,
can
I
bend the
didn't
stick to
think
the
through
appropriate
this.
shape?
As much as I probably should have.
Let's step back, John. What was sex ed like in Pennsylvania?
I mean, that is Amish
What
country,
you
Joe.
ended
Let's
up
be
in,
fair.
dude?
I was thinking she needed something
How do you
without
have
power. Like
14
it can't.
kids?
It's got to be. You know. Like, God.
Oh,
I am
God.
sure-
every week.
I am sure there's a lot of fan fiction out there that covers this exact topic.
Yeah. You would
God,
think so.
God bless your wife, John. Next up, from my number one fan, Deus Ex Manatee. That's my good friend Renee, and she's got one of those little like what are they above the E where it's like it's not an umlaut, but it's like a little
Like an
slash. I don't know what
accent?
they call that.
Accent mark.
Yeah, an accent. Yeah, maybe. Which X-Man? I like that she called it X-Man, not X-Men. X-Man ability would be most useful if you in your current day-to-day life. I think traveling by portal would be great for the commute to work.
Does it have to be one of the New Mutants?
I was going to say
I think it can be
anything.
No, I
Yes.
think anything. Just pick anything.
I mean, I'd like to be Cyclops so I could vaporize people who don't wear masks in public,
Mhm.
Mm.
which would be
I
half the
don't know.
town.
I agree with Renee. Like I think the whole like transporting and being like if I could get to work, like
Yeah, one of the
in-
flying
in-
ones, maybe.
no.
Flying would be cool.
I feel so. This is one of my other complaints about the X-Men in general. Is like the limits of the mutant powers are just never super clear.
Yeah.
So like Jean Grey
John,
can kind of just like do whatever she wants. Like it's like infinity power.
John, it's
you know?
DNA. Okay, it's mutation.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
Like, why don't we have an X-Men that's like Dr. Manhattan? Like, I need to be able to like replicate myself.
Hmm.
There are some.
and
There are
dong,
some,
which
okay.
dong, like
Yeah, there are
didn't
some.
Dr.
minor
Manhattan
characters
have
that do that.
dong? Wasn't
Yeah,
that-
yeah,
he-
yeah.
yes.
Yes, Joe.
I don't-
Yes, Joe. There's
He was
Dawn.
naked. He was
Yeah.
just a lot of.
I don't
nudity.
need multiple dongs. Okay, that's what got me here. I have a baby already. I need multiple,
Wait.
I need multiple
Let's
me.
step back and expand on this, CC. Multiple dongs.
Okay.
Go on.
Same dong multiple times.
You know
Hey,
what's
whatever
funny?
floats your boat.
You know what's funny?
What are you and Kyle into?
The word dong is funny. I just want to say that. For
I
the
mean,
record.
I already share him with you, so who knows what's
Is
up?
Yeah,
this
what
why
are
you
you
keep
into,
trying to
Joe?
convince Leslie and I to come to Atlanta?
Fishbowl sitting near the front door.
Every vacation I take, but when you guys coming to Atlanta? All right. Next up, our buddy Alex Jones. Do you all have one horror movie that truly, deeply, viscerally affected you? The original Martyrs did this to me. I didn't sleep for 3 days after that movie. I should watch it again. P.S. And this is 100% there, John. I'm not making this up. P.S. John rules. Schnars drools.
What does that mean?
Or no, sorry, Joe rules. Schnars.
Oh, that's some bullshit.
Joe, that was mean.
You got me excited for a second. But,
I did, yeah. I've got a few in me.
I'll
I'm sorry,
second
but
him
I do
on-
feel like that worked out.
I'll second him on Martyrs. That movie messed me up
Martyrs was intense.
because it's also pretty
Yeah.
I
well.
don't know.
It's also pretty well made, and those are the ones that I have the most trouble kind of like reconciling.
I mean,
Yeah,
Kyle and I
I mean-
almost got a divorce after watching Hereditary, so that one was pretty intense.
Dude, yeah.
It's not great.
That
Yeah.
that one's pretty fucked up.
He was so mad at me for making him see that.
Dude, that's like that middle-aged couple who sat next to me in the theater that 100% saw it because the wife really likes Toni Collette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew it was going to be messed up, but I think it hit a little too close in the in my personal trauma. I kind of was like, fuck this.
I mean, we talked about how much those repressed Irish family dinners rang true for me, so I get it.
So
I mean, we talk
I've
about this
watched it
movie.
since, but not with him.
We talk about this movie every time like disturbing comes up, and I don't know if I'd even consider it a horror movie, but like it was a Serbian film. Like again,
True.
like just
Yeah.
stuck with me for way too long. And
Yeah. Thankfully, I still haven't seen that.
yeah, you made the right choice on that one.
Yeah.
I like get upset at the fact that like we watched that. Fusilatoro. What are there too many of? Superhero movies and TV shows, or zombie movies and TV shows?
Yeah.
Superheroes, like
You don't have to watch them, bud.
really. Do we need-
Yes, you do.
It's hard for me. Like I have friends who've worked on both, so I'm like, I feel bad for.
Yeah,
they pay for
I'm
my
fine
friends'
with either,
lives.
honestly.
Yeah.
If gun to my head, I would actually say get rid of the zombie. Like there's too many zombie things
Yeah,
at this point.
I'd agree with you, John.
But yeah,
It's like
I'm
superhero
fine.
movies, you can kind of go anywhere, right? Like you can always make something fun and interesting out of
Yeah,
superhero
that's
movies.
true.
Yeah.
Zombies
Well,
are kind of
They're mined
you
out,
can't
right?
go like zombies are what they are. Like
Yeah.
I mean, even when we see like a fun, interesting new idea of it, like it's still a zombie, right?
You're right.
All right, next up, Robel. I love this question. What are your favorite sugary booze drinks? Or what's your favorite sugary booze?
So I've just been recently buying Cutwater. Have you seen these Cutwater canned margaritas? They have a bunch of they're like the canned mixed drinks, but I buy the
Seltzers?
margarita ones. They're not seltzers. They're like they have a margarita. They
Oh,
have a
they're
gin
like
and
actual
tonic.
drink.
Yeah. It's like 15% alcohol. Very nice, tasty.
I as of late, and I love these in general, but I recently took the plunge and started like I ordered some of the ingredients that are a little tough to find in like your liquor store, and started making Mai Tais at home. I love a fucking Mai Tai, like just the greatest thing in the world. Like
I
they
would
make
love
me
for you
so
to make me a Mai Tai. I think I've had like one in my life that I can think of.
Oh, they're so good. The trouble with Mai Tais is like making them at home. There are so many variations of the recipes, like to find like the perfect one. And the trouble is I had one about a year ago and then I drank a ton of them and decided I need to cut this out for a bit. And now I can't find the one that I really liked. But like any like tiki bar, like I love tiki drinks. I love tiki bars. Like it's one of the things that Matt on our Slack and I have bonded over, like our love of the tiki. But Mai Tais in general are just the greatest thing ever.
Yeah. I'm not much of a sugary drink guy, but when I do, it's usually a Mai Tai.
I'll drink any margarita. I've bought the handle of Cuervo, the like mix, poured over some ice. Yeah, it's delicious.
It's
I love a good margarita.
Well,
like a straight up
Suzanne makes
margarita.
them. She'll make them at home, and like a homemade margarita is fucking way better.
delicious.
Like I'm not saying that the like canned stuff is like great, but it's like in a pinch, I'm fucking lazy.
Yeah, you'll
I'm just
get
here to
there.
drink.
I
Like, what's
love-
the problem?
I love a margarita and then just getting like some jalapenos and like muddling it in there before making it. And then obviously Caitlin will tell you that's when the sex happens and the jalapenos
It's true.
utilize things.
It's true.
I love like any sugary drink. Like I don't like liquor in general. So like anything that's,
Anything
covers
with
that.
alcohol in it is all.
I have this cameo up, Joe, before we hit up Instagram. I have the cameo going.
All right, so last one on Twitter, and then we can get there. Maud Amsterdam. Speaking of hair, did any of you ever have a mullet? I had one for 3-ish years as a child, still dead inside.
No,
Oh,
I
that's
did
our
have
friend
I did
Liz.
have a rat tail, if that counts.
Yeah, I was
also
going to say,
had a rat tail,
I didn't
yeah.
have a mullet. I had a rat tail.
I
Yeah.
kind of did when I shaved before I shaved when I shaved my head and it was growing back in, it became a little mullety.
Nice.
Yeah, around the Kurt Cobain period, I had like long hair and like I didn't trim the front, but I did shave the sides, and it definitely was mullet-esque. So
Yeah, I had the metal mullet where you grow your hair out long and then shave the sides and back underneath it, so it all hangs over.
Is there a picture?
The drapes.
Is there a picture of this?
that's it on Twitter, Eric.
Love it, Joe. You know what? It's getting warm out. People getting their shots. Getting to wedding season.
Mother's Day is approaching.
Mother's Day.
Things
You
are
know what
happening.
would be the best wedding present ever? A cameo from you played at the wedding.
Eric, I'm a ordained minister.
That's true.
The best gift ever would be me coming marrying you.
Are you still doing Mary's wedding?
I think so. I mean, it's not till like October, but
They're
we haven't talked
rescheduling.
about it a bit. And she's technically married, so really I'd just be going through the motions. But yeah, I'm down.
I love it. John's still gonna be your date.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, date TBD, I guess.
So
that sounds positive.
So you go to Cameo, search Bloody Good Horror, and get a cameo from Joe. You want to set this one up here that I have?
So the fun, actually, I should explain it after. One, because I did this
Okay.
a couple weeks ago. Two, I'm a little drunk.
Fuck it, let's do it.
And three, well, just know this person has sent in a number of cameos before. In the past, actually, it was like almost weekly. It became like a running joke, and then kind of disappeared for a bit, and then sent this one in. And then I'll kind of explain after, which makes it even more funny. So yeah.
All right.
How long is it? Are we going to do the whole thing?
No.
I feel like
No. 2 minutes.
It's Joe.
Just
from
under
Bloody
20.
Good Horror. It's a podcast, and we talk about horror. Bloody good horror. It's not British. It sounds like it is, but it's not. I don't know how they came up with the name. I'm sure Eric and Mark have explained at some point. I don't know how long you've been listening. I don't know if you remember Mark, but maybe I'm sure on some show they just said, this sounds fun. You know what sounds fun too? It's your birthday. And your friend Alex sent this in and wanted me to wish you a happy birthday. I assume, Alex, I don't know Alex personally. Not great with words. And I say that in the nicest way possible. And the only reason I bring this up is because the when you send in this request and there's like a little field that kind of explains what the video's for. It's like, hey, it's this person's birthday or they're graduating or whatever. You can put, there's a character limit. I forget what it is, but there's a good amount of space to kind of give some info. Alex just put happy birthday. 2 exclamation points. So I get that Alex is excited about this, about your birthday.
These things are so stream of consciousness.
Not
It's
much
insane.
else there to go with.
This is
So,
also not the one I thought that I
Leon,
sent.
I'm here to make your day special. I want you to know that. To be honest, there is like a little bit of ambiguity. I don't think I've ever said that word out loud before. I've heard it in my head. I've heard people say it. I've said it in my head. But now that I try and say it, I'm very self-conscious about it. But to be honest, there's not even a mention that it is your birthday, personally. The request comes off as it's my birthday.
Okay. I just have one question on this, Joe.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop there. Do you ever, this is what I hear in your voice. I hear, you're spinning plates in your head. Like, you're just trying to keep it going. Like, you don't want to, as long as you keep talking, you'll land at the point sooner or later. Do you ever get nervous and, screw it up and then just stop and, I got to start over?
No, I've never. If I get more than 15 seconds in,
That's
it's
it.
like
Final take.
It's like a boulder rolling down a hill. Like it's just going. Like once I get there's no stopping.
It's
I mean,
absolutely fascinating.
I will say you're mistaken. There usually is not a point that I'm trying to get to. Like it's literally, at this point, I've gotten happy birthday out of the way, and then everything else is just whatever. We'll go where we may.
I love it.
I gotta say this. So this isn't the one I thought I sent you, but this one, poor Alex actually did feel terrible and sent in a second request, explaining more about who this person was and what birthday it was and all this. So
you should have given the second one as a freebie, I feel like, but
I honestly, John, I would do these for free. I just enjoy it. It makes me happy to do them. So I don't have any way to give them away, but if I could, I definitely would.
Love it. Cameo.com. What do we got on Instagram?
So we're recording on a Tuesday night, unfortunately. So I post up every Tuesday. You can send in a question on Instagram. Bloody Good Horror is our handle. Our longtime listener and friend who usually sends in her question not using the form, unfortunately not around on Tuesdays apparently because did not get one in. But we got a bunch of others. First up. Are any of you guys thinking about going to Joe Bob's Jamboree in July? Which I think is in Pennsylvania, if I'm right, or something. I forget.
It sounds amazing. It's pretty far away from where I am, but it does sound pretty cool.
Yeah, it is PA.
Yeah.
It's actually not terribly far from where I am, I think.
I would love to go. Like, it seems like a blast. I just don't know, like, honestly, my paranoia, like, how comfortable I would be at this point.
Joe, let's research maybe, little Joe John reunion. Central PA.
You're paranoid with what? With what, Joe? With COVID stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, you got the vaccine, dude. Plus, it's at a drive-in intentionally for like distancing. I feel like.
Yeah, but still,
I'm
got
not.
a lot going on.
You wouldn't be able to distance me if I was near Joe. That's all I'll say.
JB,
distancing that.
The show, John, coming back this Friday. You should hang out in Slack and watch the premiere.
Eric, it's way too late in the evening for me.
All right, next up. This is a good one. Favorite concert memory?
Oh, that is a good one. Up in Smoke Tour.
I mean, I have a lot, but I always like thinking about the time I saw the Sword play in a really tiny like back room in a really like dank dive bar, and they have a song called Winter Wolves, and everyone started howling at the beginning of it. That was pretty awesome.
Oh, I saw them open for Clutch like years ago.
I think it
they
was
were
on,
amazing. I'm not.
Maybe it wasn't on that one, but because it wasn't Clutch that I think they headlined. But
yeah, I'm not like a giant Sword fan. Like I enjoy them. I've never like listened to other stuff, but they were amazing. Like as an opener, though. Great.
I actually am a Sword fan. Oddly enough, I usually don't get in on the metal talk here. My favorite concert
I don't even know what Sword is.
My favorite concert memory, I saw Rob Zombie once, and here, and it was literally like a mile down the road in our big outdoor theater, legit concert venue, lawn section out back, in the middle of like his first song. Everybody in the lawn section went nuts and started pulling up sod and chucking it into the pavilion seats in the front.
That is
and it was just like a sea of sod clumps going through the air. And in between songs, Rob Zombie actually went backstage and got his camcorder and came back out and said, "I got to get this shit on camera. I've never seen this before."
Wow.
Some poor landscaper just watching by with a single tear running down his cheek.
Yeah,
breaking his heart. So this band, the Dillinger Escape Plan, when their original lead singer left and their second joined, I got to go see their first show where the second lead singer kind of premiered. And after that, they did this show at this small club that closed in New York City called the Knitting Factory. And it was like short. It was 2002. It was shortly after I'd moved to New York, and it was one of the most fucking bananas things I've ever seen. And it's like randomly online, someone like must have been recording with like an old VHS, and it was fucking like amazing. Like I remember I left that show covered in other people's sweat, and like I don't like being near people or like touching people, but like. After that, I was like, this is totally fine. Like, it was amazing. Like, one of the best shows, if not the best show I've ever been to. And, yeah, it was a real special night, John.
It's good times.
You got anything, John? Any Dave Matthews Band? Like, the first time you saw them live or something?
That was my first concert, Dave Matthews. I'm pretty sure back in the Vet Stadium in Philly, which Joe's probably, maybe he was still around when you were there. I can't remember.
Yeah. I saw the Phillies play there a few times.
Yeah, they knocked that shit down. They blew that up. But I saw the Black Keys at McCarran Park Pool before when they were. I think they're back to letting people use it as a music venue, but they shut it down for a while and turned it back into a pool. But that was like a great venue in New York. I saw the last LCD Sound System concert at what's it called? Not at the fucking Madison Square Garden, which was a huge show, but it was pretty sweet. So.
I'm not a giant like arena concert fan. Like,
no, well, look, like some of my favorites are always like those randos you just like walk into like a bar, like a small venue. But the LCD show was like they like announced it was their last show. It was like a whole thing, and I don't know, it was pretty wild. Good times.
That's fun. I got a lot I could go through. What's the next horror movie trend? I'm seeing a lot of movies about cults. I feel like we get this one a lot, right?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I need like the actual new releases to start coming out before we can kind of say.
Yeah.
I feel like they've been trying cults for a couple of years now, and it's while I've enjoyed some of it, it hasn't taken off like your vampires and zombies have.
Yeah, I mean, I like culty ones.
Well, we're waiting on a couple of not remakes, but like there's the Candyman thing, there's the Saw thing, there's like there's a couple of these return of the franchise type deals.
Another Halloween return.
Yeah, there's new. Yeah, is that coming this year or is that next year?
I don't know.
Halloween Kills.
Yeah, is that this year, Eric, or is it next year?
I don't know. It's probably. I think it's done. I think it's done. So I think my guess would be this coming summer, fall. I'll Google it, John. Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's fucking April, Eric. Like it's almost the summer.
Jesus Christ.
Joggers. Summer, fall.
October 15th. October 15th, 2021.
Was Scooby-Doo better when it was always a mundane mystery, or when it went true supernatural?
I don't really care.
I don't remember. Was there ever a Scooby-Doo when it really was like a ghost? Like,
I don't think I remember that either.
Maybe the newer stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna go the old mundane mystery.
Yeah,
yeah.
My Scooby-Doo was always the creepy old caretaker.
Like, what was the movie that came out like last year? I think it was just called like Scoob or something. Casey, I know you saw it.
Yeah,
like, that was a ton of fun.
Yeah, it was.
It was really good. What BGH host would be the best mecha? I vote Mecha Schnars.
Oh, I was like, what's a mecha?
How'd you deal with his hair? That's what I want to see. Just like a big blocky like.
I'd go with Cece because I think
the biggest, you know.
Really? I feel like we're all like mildly terrified of Cece to begin with, so I think like a mecha Cece would be.
See, but if it was like me and Eric and Mark, we could have like a real Voltron thing going. I could have a Newell on each arm.
Joe, randomly, Twitter just suggests, I'm on the Hi-Fi Twitter, and it just suggested to me that I follow COW Flanagan. You never told me that his profile picture is the shot of Jack Nicholson eating a hoagie in like the French Riviera.
It changes.
Is that I didn't know what that was.
It was like this famous paparazzi photo where
time,
Jack Nicholson is like waiting in the French Riviera and just like grease stained and just like shoving a sub in his face. Amazing.
Next up, mostly for you, John. Thoughts on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills trailer? John.
I can check in with the wife and get back to you next week.
I would be interested. So I'm excited that Erica is talking about her divorce and legal issues, but I mean, my bar for Beverly Hills is pretty low, but I've got, it seems like it's fun.
I was going to say, I didn't think it was like a favorite among the
no, it's lost its steam, but you know,
crowd. Yeah.
Excited for Eli Roth on the last drive-in premiere or nah?
Whatever. He's fine. I know people get a little. He's annoying, but also it's fine.
He gets excited about horror movies, so it can't be a bad slate.
Yeah, and they bring those guests in for like one segment and then they're out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just excited that Joe Bob's coming back. Like, I honestly don't care who's there with him.
Totally. Has he said what movie is he doing?
They usually announce on the show.
Yeah. What horror property, book, comic, etc., would you most like to see turned into a movie?
I'd like to see. Oh shit! I can see the cover of the book, and now I can't think of the writer. So never mind. Don't mind me.
The Bible, CC, and Jesus is the writer.
Well, if you want to get into it, Jesus definitely did not write the Bible, but okay.
Well, I would say that, and Cece would understand what I'm talking about. I would say I'm surprised we haven't seen an Anya Alborn movie based off of one of her books.
I feel like
I love Pure Moods, Casey. You know I love Anya.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm surprised that hasn't happened. And God, what is that? I mean, we're getting a Paul Tremblay book, which as a movie. Head full of ghosts, and I think there's one. So I mean, I'm excited for that.
I just read horror comic that I kind of picked up off the, it was like in trade paperback called Once and Future. That's about a cult in England that resurrects, what's his name? The like Knights of the Round Table, King
Jesus.
Arthur.
Mm.
So like it's like a cult. They resurrect King Arthur, but he's like a fucking like demon zombie, and he's like leading like a demon zombie army. I didn't love it as a comic, but I actually think it would work as like I could see it as like an adventure movie. It's sort of like a little like Indiana Jones ish. I don't know.
It's just like Cowboys and Aliens.
Yeah.
Do you ever just like thank God that you found a woman that'll spend the rest of her life with you, John? Like when you're reading your comic books and your like fucking graphic novels and stuff, like
sometimes I do wonder like what she thinks I'm reading because I'm like sitting in bed just like pretty cool, like she doesn't ask. She doesn't
ask.
I just made fun of you, but now I'm going to talk about how like I'm still holding out hope for the Haunted Mansion movie that Guillermo del Toro's been talking about.
Oh
for
my
years.
gosh,
Somebody-
that would be amazing.
You do have a Funko Pop collection.
Somebody will make that.
Yeah, I know. I by no means like
Somebody will
trust
make
me.
that
I
eventually.
totally understand like the hypocrisy of me making fun of you.
Yeah, it's
Well, in the same vein as that, though, I'm still holding out hope for Guillermo's At the Mountains of Madness.
Mm.
Oh, bro, that's not happening.
No, I know. But it would be great if it did.
Yeah, it'll either be great or it's like a complete disaster. But
So this one, any of you good folks into mushroom foraging?
No.
No, but my stepdad is.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a cousin who's like lives fairly close, and his son, who lives in Pennsylvania, was like going off to me about mushroom foraging the other day, and I was like, okay.
All right.
In
So no one on
Indiana,
the
we
show.
call it
Cool,
mushroom hunting.
Yeah.
Do you like pina coladas?
Yeah.
No.
Will drink.
I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're great. You know who I replied to this on the thing. I learned from VH1, Rupert Holmes, the guy who sang the Escape, the Pina Colada song, hated them, did not care for them.
Go figure.
Are you excited for the Mortal Kombat movie?
Fuck
It comes out
yes.
next Friday.
Hell yeah.
So
Yeah,
excited.
I think we're
Is
doing
that
it for
like
the show, right?
It's like not the 16th, it's the 23rd. I
Next
guess?
week, yeah, the 23rd
It looks,
or 24th.
it looks pretty
yeah.
dope.
Yeah.
I wish it could have held out.
have you-
I wish it could have held out till my second shot, so I could see it in the theater.
Have you ever mixed two beers together to make something super delicious?
No.
No.
Joe.
I
No,
know,
that's
like you
not my
can
thing.
find, like you can see those like online. People will say like, mix this and this. It's
Yeah,
usually,
like what?
it's
Like a
it's like a stout or a
snake
porter.
bite is a like a lager mixed with a cider or like a black and tan. I guess I've had a black and tan.
Yeah,
so
I've had
yeah,
black and tan.
Does a
and then
Boilermaker count?
No.
No. I reply back. So a cream ale, I've talked about them on the show. Jenny Brewing Company in Rochester, New York. They invented that style, and it's like a mix of an ale and a lager. So, I've had my share. Next up, are you looking for writers for horror content? And yeah, always info@bloodygoodhorror.com. Send in your samples or info. Eric, anything you want to say about that?
What you said.
Yeah. Last but not least, any candies from your childhood you miss that are no longer in production?
Do they
I
still
think
make
they're
fun
all-
of dip?
I think all the ones I had
Yeah.
were like all my
They
favorites.
still make fun of. I have no idea. I don't know if
Yeah, they do. I mean, they brought back Necco wafers, so I'm covered.
Yeah.
The one I always think about is like, remember candy cigarettes? Like
Yeah.
that'll never
Yeah.
happen again.
No, they definitely.
But they
will
were
not make
so much
those.
fun when I was a kid.
And bubblegum cigars.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
that's what.
God.
So they used to make these bubble gum. They were like cigarette sized, but like they had the like the sugar powder around them, so like
Yeah.
you could literally like inhale it and like blow out
Yeah.
smoke.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, dude, they came in a cigarette box that you had
Like a
to
small
unwrap.
little
I mean, it was
yeah.
like
Like
training.
big tobacco had to have something to do
Oh,
with that, right? Like
1,000%. 1,000%.
like it's fucking insane looking back on it now, but
Hey, John, before we wrap up here, you want a real quick look ahead here at theatrical horror coming up, since some of us might be venturing out in a couple months?
Sure, we can pull it up.
No, I
Are
got it.
you looking
No,
at
I got it right
Because-
here. May
Please do.
14th Spiral from the Book of Saw. That's Chris Rock's insane Saw movie. May 28th, A Quiet Place, Part 2. June 4th, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Jerk off motion.
The Conjuring,
July 9th, The Forever Purge, which I kind of like as a dumb title. Yeah. July 16th, The Night House. August 13th, Don't Breathe 2. August 27th, Candyman. September 10th, Malignant. Anyway, that's what I see coming up here.
Dude, you skipped Jacob's Wife coming out this week, starring Barbara Crampton.
Oh, that's not on my list here.
I'm just on Box Office Mojo. It just like popped up there. So
stuff coming out. All that stuff that was held. I mean, a lot of those are probably 2020s.
Yeah.
Ooh, I gotta pee, guys.
They feel like they're like time capsules. It's super weird.
I'm done, Joe. That's it.
Yeah. I don't want to rush you, but you know. I'm done with
okay, cool.
Instagram.
Love it. All right, guys. Bloody good horror. That's gonna do it for this episode. Don't forget to send Joe your Diva Cup thoughts. He has questions. And that's it. We'll talk to you next week.
Not as many as you think that I should have. Like I'm more up to speed on the Diva Cup than I probably should be.
Got it.
You know.
Good to know.
Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.
I appreciate your allyship.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.